This is just a quick tutorial about what I did to get my Trans Am to drift. This is an 87 Trans Am GTA, and it has an LS engine in it with a 6-speed manual. So it took a couple years to figure it out, but to get it kind of dialed in the way I liked it. So first things first, I got a spindle from the junkyard from an SN95. I don't know exactly what year. I think it was after 1998, so it was one of the later generation ones. Fast forward a couple months, I got a rack from one too. So I just literally drilled a hole inside my K-member and shoved a 3/4 inch bolt through it, and I just got some nuts to jam it on both sides of it so I can move it forward or backwards or whatever. So it barely clears the oil pan, but that's okay, I guess. So this is the Scotty D adapter something for Ackerman settings, because that was like the biggest thing I was struggling with, was getting this thing to steer properly. One of the wheels would always be turned way more than the other one, so it had a lot of positive Ackerman in it. So this adapter has adjustable Ackerman settings where you can actually move one of these, that one right there. You can move that forward or backwards, and you adjust your caster or your Ackerman. So it has a Heim joint there, and the underneath where the ball joint is also a Heim joint too. Everything else is pretty much stock from an SN95. This is the control arm that I made for it. It's pretty weak. It already cracked once right there before, so I did a little quick fix just to get it driving again, and it's been okay. I'm making a new design. I'll put that at the end of this video about what I'm designing right now. But with this, I can go from lock to lock, and it binds sometimes. I think it's because I have the rack too far inward of the car, so I need to honestly just move it out a little bit so the over-centering isn't a problem anymore. But it can go perfectly straight, and then also it'll go all the way in. So that's basically it. Kind of the same on both sides. I have no idea how much angle this actually is, but it's not too bad. But in the car, the wheel only turns one rotation from lock to lock. So, or not from lock to lock, but from center to lock. So here is centered, so the wheels are pointing straight. If I turn it just one rotation, it locks right there, and that's full angle. Same with the other side. I also took off the rack spacers that came with this Mustang rack, just in case I wanted to go a little bit more, but I'm not even using all of the Mustang rack itself, so it might be able to turn more, but for now, I mean, it's basically working fine. I daily drive this car sometimes, so nothing really to complain about. That new control arm's going to be a lot better. The wheels keep rubbing on this one, and then that over-centering is an issue. So I need to make some that are adjustable where I can move the wheel forward or backwards, like towards the back of the car or towards the front, and that should fix my problem. This is an SN95 coilover from Max Heating Rods. So I know they're not like the best brand, but it's what I could afford, and it's what has actually been pretty good for me. So all I did for this was remove the top hat that it came with on the coilover itself, and then I just put a couple washers to space it down so it had enough like angle to actually like move, and that was it. Just bolted it right up to the stock camber caster plate on the 3rd gen and just bolted it down. So that's pretty much it with this part. The wheels can still turn, and it has a good amount of clearance right here down into that arm, but sometimes it rubs down there. It's hard to see it, but that's an issue I'm trying to figure out right now with the new control arm setup. So I also put the sway bar back in it because I didn't have one before, and The whole front end feels a lot stiffer. It's better that way than when I drifted it without the sway bar, because the whole front would just slosh back and forth, like it body roll a little bit too hard, and the coils weren't strong enough to really compensate and keep the front end flat all the time. So that's basically it on this car. This is what's under the hood. So this has that Mustang coil over right there, and legit, it just bolted right into this. I just had to take the top part of the coil off and then just put it right into here, use their nut, and that was it. You can still adjust your camber and caster up there, and then obviously your toe comes from the tie rods. But with the new design control arm I'm trying to make right now, you're going to be able to adjust your camber and your caster from the control arm itself, and then also from the top hat. This is what I have right now. This is the first design I made of the current control arm, and this is what I changed it from. These are 3 inches wider than factory, or longer, and this one came out too far, so I switched to a double 1-inch 120 wall DOM tube, and it's been okay, but I cracked the side bracing right here where it connects to this part of the arm, and it pushed this pipe that way and then broke this weld right here. So I'm working on a new design and going through a couple of different options like this one right here, but that didn't seem the strongest, so working on something like this. It's going to have Heim joint here and there, and then for my specific car I use a Heim joint for the ball joint right here. So it's going to have that one cross brace in the center where it needs it, and then that's it. So hopefully with the Heim joint adjustability you can do camber and caster. This one seemed okay for the middle section of it being durable. It's just the end right there. I'm not an engineer, so I didn't realize that this would be a really big stress point. One of my buddies that is one warned me about this, but I didn't listen obviously and made it anyways and then broke it. This one right here is going to have the stock body mount, like poly bushing style, on where it goes to the K-member, and a normal ball joint for an 87 Trans Am, or the 3rd gens in general. The only reason I'm making mine is just because that's how my suspension is just set up that way. So I'm going to make some with this, make sure it actually works properly, and if it does, I'm going to try to make these and sell them to a couple people that I know would actually use them and test them for me. And yeah, so if these work fine, I might start selling them. Stay tuned for that. I'll put the contact information in the bio. This one's going to be probably the usual one I'm going to be selling if I ever do. If you want, you can make like a special request and be like, yo, I want Heim joints on the end where it bolts up instead, and I can be able to do that. But for now, this is what I'm going to go with for selling it to people, at least like close friends, that I can have them use them first, see how they like them. This bar is going to probably be a little bit more in, so they can get as much tire clearance as possible, and so it doesn't like hit the brake caliper or anything like that. So yeah, that's where I just stand with all of this stuff right now. I'm hoping this is going to be strong. I might have to add like a different brace somewhere, but in the current moment, this is what I'm going to go with. So yeah, stay tuned for that. Again, if you have any questions, just email me. And yeah, alright, have a good one.